Hello and welcome to today's BITRIX24 webinar HR Toolkit. Thank you very much for joining today. Okay, so first of all, let's just go through some introductions. So I'm Sam Connor, Sales Manager here at Interface, and we are BITRIX24 Gold Partners based in the UK, the US, and Hong Kong. And we offer a full range of services to help you with BITRIX24. So starting off with pre-sale support, so we can help to analyze your requirements and really help you to fully evaluate the BITRIX24 system. And if you decide Bitrix is the right product, then we can provide implementation services. So we can help to set up your Bitrix system. So it's designed really exactly how you need it to work for your business. And that's then when you'll be able to maximize the value and the return on your investment of using the Bitrix24 platform. Now, if you're looking at the self-hosted version, then we can provide our own hosting service for you. So it's a fully managed service, and we provide tailored bespoke training and ongoing support to help businesses get the most possible value out of the BITRIX24 system. Okay, so if you are joining today's webinar, maybe you're currently in that evaluation stage and really wanting to understand more about BITRIX24, but at a quite a high level, let's just cover what BITRIX24 actually is. Okay, so BITRIX24 is a collaboration suite of well in excess now of 40 different tools that you can use to help you to manage your business. There are now over 15 million businesses around the world that use the BITRIX24 system. And it's available in two different editions. So we have the BITRIX24 Cloud and we have the BITRIX24 self-hosted solution. And when we say self-hosted, we simply mean it is a private cloud version of Bitrix. It doesn't mean you have to host on a local server. You can host this on your own private cloud, or as I've just referenced, we can provide our own hosting service for you, and it's a fully managed service then. Okay. And then in terms of pricing, so prices start from $49 a month. That starts on the basic cloud version of Bitrix. Then you also have a standard, professional, and enterprise cloud subscriptions. And on the self-hosted, that starts on the business 50 version, and that's priced at $3,590 for the first 12 months. And then in year two and ongoing annually for the renewal of that self-hosted, you pay a 50% renewal fee. So then that will halve to 1,795 USD in year two and ongoing annually. Okay, so that's a bit more about BITRIX24. And if you have any questions as we go through today's session, just drop them into our chat on YouTube. So we're live today here on YouTube, so you can drop a question in, or if maybe you have some questions after the WebEx session today, you can contact us, sales@interface.com. I've just put our email address into the chat box. You can contact us. One of our team will be happy to assist you. Okay. So today's webinar is really focusing on the HR functionality within BITRIX24. And a key understanding that I want to make clear within the first point of this WebEx session is there isn't one predefined module within BITRIX that's called HR. The HR features, they're really embodied into lots of different areas of the BITRIX24 system. And you'll see that today from calendars, drive areas, communication channels, being able to run automated processes and workflows. It's evolved around the entire Bitrix system. Okay, so we'll take a look at that today. And some of the key benefits and reasons for using BITRIX24 for HR include those features. So you have tools for finding employees. We can manage work time and personal areas for contracts and appraisal documents. We also have self-service forms for managing absence requests, expenses, purchase requests. So really customizable workflows. And you can then also create your own completely bespoke custom processes, such as maybe onboarding new starters. And you can then progress those workflows to the correct people at the correct stage of your design process. And we'll take a look at an example of an onboarding process incorporated into BITRIX24 in today's webinar. Okay, so first of all, what we'll do today is we'll take a look at the areas where we can store profile information. So individual users, and then we'll take a look at the company structure. We'll then see how we can track time in BITRIX, so the time management tools, and we'll then see how we have personal areas for drives to store documents and the calendar functionality. And then we'll take a look at some of the employee engagement tools to really enable you to collaborate with your teams in BITRIX and departments. And then we'll take a look at self-service forms and processes. Okay, so as I say, any questions, please drop them into the YouTube box and we can run through those throughout today's session. Okay, so what we're looking at here, so I'm on an on-premise version of BITRIX here, but we also have a cloud version open as well. So we're taking a look, switching between the different systems. Now, if there is any functionality that requires a certain version of BITRIX, I'll make you aware of that as we go into today's session. Okay, so the first thing to point out within the BITRIX system is the user area for each person. So if we click into here, you'll see each user has their own profile. And within the profile area, this is where the person can store the information about themselves. So we have an image of ourselves, and on the right hand side here, we can store the key information about could be our email address, our mobile phone number, start date, etc. And you can create custom fields to store and capture additional key information that is required inside the system here as well. Okay. And as we scroll down, again, there can be additional information that gets stored in here. And what's really nice with this feature is across the top, you've got shortcuts to different areas of your BITRIX system. So for example, I can open up my task area and it's going to bring me through all of the tasks that I'm currently working on. And it's the same with the calendar and also my drive area. So I can see all of my documents and information that I need to review within my drive space. So I can click into that information and see that within the profile page. So it's really useful to be able to navigate very seamlessly through the BITRIX system. And so that's an individual user. And we then have our company structure. So we can start to build out the entire organization within BITRIX24. And the company structure, if it's something you're familiar with, you'll see it's had a new UI incorporated functionality incorporated into here now. So it's a more flexible company structure. So within here, we can design out our departments. So you can easily add new departments into the system and select the appropriate users for the departments. So within here, I can add the different structures. Okay, so I can edit the employees and supervisors. So I can add more employees into these departments. And in each department, you're going to have a supervisor, and you can have multiple supervisors, by the way, if that's how your business model works. You can then have deputy supervisors, and you've then got the rest of the employees that are incorporated into the company structure. So we can see here in the HR department, we can see the supervisor, and then we can see the other HR staff associated to that department. So it's really easy to build out your entire company structure within the system here. And this is really important as well, because what we can do with this is this structure can be used as a framework in lots of different areas of BITRIX. So first of all, this can be used in the CRM for setting permissions across what data different departments are able to access. It can also be used as a audience navigation. So we'll take a look how we can collaborate with our colleagues within BITRIX. Now you could use this, say, to post out a message to a certain department. So everyone in the HR department, for example, could see that message. Or we could then also use this as a workflow tool. So anyone within the HR department, Lucy, Mark, or Josie, if they submit a workflow request, that could go to John to approve or to reject as the owner of the HR department. So as you can see, that structure is really important to get this set up correctly. And we see a lot of businesses that don't set this up correctly, and it then causes issues in lots of different areas of the BITRIX system. So again, if that's something maybe you're looking at, it's not been set up correctly, or you need guidance and support, contact us, sales@intraface.com, and one of our team will be happy to review your current setup. We can run an audit of your system, analyze the current structure, and help to make improvements to this moving forward. Now, alongside that company structure, you also have your employee database here. So this is more a table of information of all of your employee data within BITRIX. And then we can, as an administrator, that's the level of access I have on this account, I can turn on and turn off different features and pull in data from the user profiles that we have just looked at. And it's very easy then to drill down and filter through all of the information within the employee database. Now, if you are using an on-premise version, you could add your own pages into here. So for example, we have quite a lot of on-premise clients that add a policies page into the employee module where you store policy information. So if you want a more flexible and customizable system, that can be achieved with the on-premise version of BITRIX. Okay, so let's just see if we have any questions. So that's a look there at the profile and company structure. So yeah, okay, this is a good question. A question here, is there a limit to the number of employees that we can add to the BITRIX? So yes, there is. So that's going to come down to what version of BITRIX that you are using. So as we can see on the cloud version here, there are different tiers of plans for the BITRIX24. So with the platform here, let's say on the professional cloud, you can have 100 users on the system. So that's 100 employees that you can have on the platform. Now that can scale, so it can go up to the tens of thousands on the enterprise cloud tier, or with the on-premise, again, that can go into the thousands with the on-premise enterprise edition. It starts at the 50 user version in the on-premise. So there is a number of seats that you will have on the system, and that's a really valuable benefit of the BITRIX24 platform. You do not pay per user on the system. So as you scale, as the business grows, you add more employees to BITRIX, you're not going to have to pay for additional seats on the system. Okay, so it's a really valuable added benefit that you have using BITRIX24. Okay, so moving on from looking at the employees, we then have our time management features. So within the BITRIX system, you can turn on your work time features. So this can enable staff to clock in and clock out using the BITRIX platform. So you can see here at the top of the page, we have a clock in button. Now, to use this, you need to have at least a professional cloud version of BITRIX. Okay, so if you're on a basic or a standard cloud, you won't see this functionality. So we would have to upgrade you to the professional cloud to access this, which is absolutely easy to do. You can just contact us and we can manage the upgrade for you. And within here, then, so if I need to clock in, I can then clock in, and you can see now that's going to start to record my working day inside the BITRIX platform. And when I get to the point where I'm wanting to take my break, then what I can do is I can turn on the break, and that's going to start to record my break time within BITRIX. And then, as I say, once I'm done with my break, it'll start to again record your working day. So it allows for the HR department to be able to track the amount of work that you are doing in your BITRIX system. So I can click into here and I can see the information. So the clock in, the clock out time, I can see the amount of time that this person has been working. And you can also ask the user to fill in a report. So we can see here, this person marked that they finished late, which is why they clocked out after their expected clock out time. So you can have a summary report that gets provided to your HR and management team throughout the daily report working tools. And what you can also do within the BITRIX system here is you can schedule shifts for employees. So inside here, we can select the type of shift pattern, we can select the reporting period, and we can select who is going to be associated to this shift that we're creating. And then we can add our time into the BITRIX system here. So I can add my working day, select the working hours for the system, and then also the amount of break time that the employee can have on the system here. So it allows you to be very flexible to assign shifts to people through the system. And one other area to look at for time management is with tasks. So on a task that an employee is working on, you have the time tracker tool. So on here, you can record time, and that can then be used for reporting purposes. So you can record time, pause it, and finish it. And that will give you an overall value of time that is spent on each individual task that is worked on within the BITRIX system. Okay, so that is a look at time management. So let's take a look at a few other areas of HR functionality within BITRIX. So first of all, we have the drive area. So this is your own document repository area. Okay, so each individual person within BITRIX has their own My Drive space. So this is where they can store their own documents within the system and folder structures. So you can add those documents into the system here. And within here, on any documents that you have stored, you can put permissions in place. So you can control who you want to give access to for this document. And again, this is where that company structure comes into play that we looked at earlier on. So I could go into here and I might select specific departments. So everyone in that HR department that we were building earlier on, I'm going to give them access to this performance review document. And I can choose the level of access that they have. So I'm going to give the HR team full access as it's a performance review. And that's now been incorporated into the permission structure on that document. We also have the overall company drive. So this is more like your company repository. Same functionality, adding documents and folder structures within here. So we can see we've got a structure set up for each of our clients, and then we can store documents in a folder structure. Again, you can run permissions on here. And within your documents here on the company structure, we can run business processes. So for example, we might run an approval process where the owner has to run an approval for then other users to be able to access and view the documents. So again, if you're going to use the business process tool, you're going to need to have at least a professional cloud version because you need access to the workflow designer tool. So you start to see some of this more advanced functionality that can be incredibly valuable to save your staff time, you're going to need to be on at least a professional cloud version to gain access to this feature. Okay, so let's look at the drive area. Very similar setup for the calendar. So within the calendar area here, we can see all of our personal events within the system here for my personal calendar. And there's also an open slots feature, so similar to Calendly. So if you wanted to let your clients book meetings with you, then you can integrate this with your calendar. And you can also connect external calendars into BITRIX as well. So it allows connection with your external calendars as well. And similar, as I say, to the drive features, you've also then got a company calendar. So in here, you can add the company-wide events, and that can be used as a way to manage all of the company associations. And you can pull in other internal calendars to map into the company calendar like so. Okay, so let's look at the calendar. Now, as we mentioned earlier on, if we just go back into our PowerPoint here, a key area, so we've just looked at personal drives and time management. The next key aspect is employee engagement. So being able to engage with your employees through BITRIX. It's absolutely fundamental in today's working world where people work in lots of different locations and need to be able to collaborate with one another. And BITRIX has a huge variety of features that you can use to help with collaboration. So first of all, you have a start page within your BITRIX. So this can be used as the home page for when people log into your BITRIX. So this can be customized with company information, has a really fresh feel to the actual UI of this, and you can add in here key information and really help to spread collaboration amongst the actual data and information that employees need to be able to access. All of that can be translated here into the start page. You also have a feed. So a feed is really a very modern intranet board that each employee has access to. So within here, we're able to see any piece of work. So if someone's assigning a task to us, if someone tags us in a comment or adds us to an event, that information is going to be inputted here into your personal feed area. So it's your own internal communication board for your BITRIX system. And within the feed, we can post out messages to people. Okay, so we can add messages here. And so instead of having to use email chains, everything can be communicated directly inside the BITRIX portal. And I can then select who I want to post this message to. So it might be to all employees or certain departments. Again, that department structure is going to come from the company structure that we've set up, or it could be individual users. So you can control the audiences. We also have Copilot integrated. So if you want Copilot to formulate those posts and messages for you, you could use the Copilot tool. And you can also attach documents or insert links to videos. So you can really customize what information gets sent out through the system. So that's an individual post. You can also create events within the system here. You can make it a bit more fun and personal. So you can create polls. So let's say when the next staff party will be. So you can add that into here. And we can then let people select from these choices. It really makes it a fun and interactive way to collaborate with employees in your BITRIX system. So let's now add my votes, and that will then update as people start to input their answers. Now we also have appreciations. So this is a really nice feature if you want to recognize a specific employee. So within here, I could select an employee and a badge that I can present to them. And I can then choose the audience for this. So I just want to send this actually to everyone in the marketing and finance departments. Okay, so not everyone in the BITRIX is going to see this. It's just those two departments and Mark. Okay, so we can then send that to Mark, and that badge will then get added into Mark's profile page. So it's a really nice way to recognize performance. And the other type of post we can do is an announcement. So this is where if you have a critical message, you can post this out. And so let's add this. We're going to send this to all the employees because it's a critical message. And I'm going to add this in here for 2 days. So it's going to stay in the top of the feed. And let's just take a look at what these different messages look like to another profile. Okay, so you can see inside here those different posts. So we can see the appreciations, the poll. So let's have a vote here. So you can then see 2 people have voted now. And you can see the key difference here is the announcements. So you can see here, we have to mark that we have read this announcement. So any critical messages that you really need to enforce that people have recognized and have understood the message, we can then click there, make sure that they're marking that they have read that message, and that information will then be inputted to the author of the post. That's a really nice way to ensure that key information is shared amongst employees within the BITRIX platform. Whereas if you were to send an email to everyone, you have the risk that people are going to miss that email through there. Now, in the top right-hand corner, you can also see who's online at any one time within the business. So if you can see there who's online, you could then chat to them. So BITRIX includes communication tools. So you can communicate with your colleagues directly through the BITRIX system. So you can do instant chats, you can do video calling, voice calls, so that you can see there's a variety of ways you're able to communicate with your colleagues within the BITRIX system. And within the profile here, you can see those appreciations that I've just referenced, and those get inputted like so into their profile page. And one last way to analyze the collaboration within BITRIX, you have the company pulse. So the company pulse analyzes essentially the volume of activity that takes place within the BITRIX system. So if we look at here, you can customize the date range, and we can then analyze what areas of the BITRIX system different users are utilizing. Okay, so I can see here the CRM is being utilized, chats and videos, but I can see actually the Drive module is really being underutilized. So I could then have a conversation with our colleagues to outline the benefits and the functionality that the Drive module can provide, start to help people get more out of their BITRIX, and overall, the business gets more value out of the BITRIX24 system. So again, another area you can use to help to analyze the structure of activity that takes place within your BITRIX24 system. Okay, so that is a look at some of the core HR features within BITRIX24. And we're going to take a look now at a few examples of self-service forms that you can run in BITRIX. But just before we do this, I just want to explain with the self-service forms, if you're going to use the robotic process automation, that's fine. That's available on the standard and pro. But if you're going to use the business process designer tool, then you will need to have at least a professional cloud version of BITRIX24. So let me just show you what I mean by the business process designer tool. So inside the feed here, if I click into the more section, I have this workflow area where we can start to run workflows in the BITRIX system. So I just want to show you really the background of the workflow tool first of all. So let's say if you were going to run a leave approval process within BITRIX. So you want to have some vacation time, you could manage that process through your BITRIX system. And this is how that gets managed. So this is the workflow designer tool inside BITRIX. So you can see here we have a flow of information. Okay, so this is a sequential business process. So we have a start point and we have a predefined endpoint. And this leave request process, so the user requests the annual leave, it then goes to the supervisor, and there is a decision that has to be made. So we either approve the request or the request gets rejected. Now, based on that selection, then that decides and controls which way the workflow progresses. So if it's approved, it then gets added to the absence chart, and the requester is notified that the request has been approved, and it gets added into the absence chart in BITRIX. Whereas if the request got rejected, then it would simply fall down the right-hand side here and then notify requester that their leave has been denied. Okay, so using the business process tool, you can build out really advanced workflows. And on the right-hand side here, we have all of the different action blocks that you can use to build out workflows. So you can see here, I could add multiple layers of conditions. I can then add internal elements to this, whether it's to send out emails, create tasks for internal staff. It uses drag and drop technology to help to incorporate the key functionality you need within your BITRIX24 system. And we do work with a lot of businesses that need support and guidance to build out their workflows using this tool. And that's something we specialize in here at Interface. So as I say, our email address is in the chat, sales@interface.com. So if you do need some guidance, then please contact us, and one of our team, they can sit with you, understand your workflows, and see how that would be built using these tools within BITRIX. Okay, so that is a look at a leave approval. So if we just take a look here, when a leave approval request goes in, so if we just go back into the feed section, so we have a form that gets inputted first of all. So you can see that form here. So there are fields of information that need to be inputted, and you can control what those fields are. So this form is completely customizable to your specific workflow requirements, whether it's a request to leave, if it's an expense request, etc. And so you can control what's mandatory, what are optional fields within the system. And so if I just show you here, once that gets inputted and filled out, we then have to wait for the approval to be completed. So here we can see a holiday request that has been sent through. So we can see all the information about the request, and we can then either approve or reject that request inside the system. So let's approve that holiday request. And that information will then get added into the absence chart within BITRIX. So if we go back into the employee database, then within here, we have our absence chart. Again, you need to have a professional cloud to access this, and you can see those holiday requests. So across the organization, different types of absences from, leave, sick, unpaid leave, national holidays. We can see all of those requests inside the system, and that information is really valuable for the entire organization to easily see who is in the business, who is away from the business at different time periods. Okay, so that's a look at using the business process designer tool. But another way you can create and design workflows is using robotic process automation. And the framework of this, it really comes from the CRM, and it's very similar if you use the CRM to the lead and deal framework. So within an RPA, you can create the stages that you progress the workflow through. And within the background, we have automation rules at each stage of the workflow to automate activity. So in this example here, we've got an employee onboarding workflow. So you can see the stages. They distinguish what department the onboarding process is at. And within each area, we have automated processes. So for example, when we get to the HR setup stage, we can see they have tasks to complete. So they need to input specific information on selecting the employee's manager and controlling what equipment that the person is going to require. So there's set information that needs to be inputted at the correct stage of the process. So let's now add a new employee to the onboarding workflow. Okay, we can input their details like so. And you can see now that's automatically been assigned over to the HR team, first of all. So if we can now go and take a look at the HR team, we can see they've been notified, and we can see now 13 seconds ago that Jojo Smith's onboarding has been sent through to the HR team. So it gets sent at the correct stage of the process. We can then start and fill in the information that needs to be inputted. So we can select their manager, and we're going to select the IT equipment that they need access to. And let's now save that information. So we can see that Jojo Smith is now automatically moved to the IT setup stage. So you can see it's automating the progression as the correct information is inputted by each area of the business. And this is a really nice way to visualize what stage each employee is at in that stage of process. And we can click into the record and we can see all of that history summarized in a really clean UI onboarding record page. And as we start to then progress further on, we can then have approval processes incorporated into this workflow. And that's just one example as an onboarding workflow within BITRIX, but you could manage really any type of HR process from offboarding to managing. It could be, as we've seen, leave requests, expenses, asset management, all of those different types of processes you could run through BITRIX24. Okay, so that is a summary of today's BITRIX24 HR Toolkit webinar. So we've seen how we can use the profile and company structure to build out the framework of our organization within BITRIX24. And a key element to point there is how that company structure is used across a lot of areas of the BITRIX system, as we've just seen. We've got time management tools to track our working day and individual tasks. There are personal drives to store documents and manage our events through our calendars. And we've seen a variety of ways we can engage with our employees through BITRIX, from posting out messages, sharing information, and using the communication channels such as chat, video call, and voice calls to collaborate with our team. And then we've just seen the self-service forms. So from the business process designer tool and the robotic process automations, where we can design out our own tailored workflows that really are designed for the business within the BITRIX24 system. Okay, so I hope you found today's HR Toolkit webinar valuable. You can see here on the page the upcoming webinars that we will be providing. So you can register at intraface.com/webinars to join those future sessions. And those sessions of webinars, they are every other Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So please do register on our webpage there, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future. So thank you very much for your time today, and bye for now.